What is up, L's and G's? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got more Dawn of Majesty reveals. I think 4 more cards I want to go over. 2 more Stigmatica cards, which is really nice because Despia already seemed kind of like pushing, like furthering the Stigmatica, like little mini archetype that hadn't been fully developed yet. But we actually got 2 more cards here as well, which is really nice. We also get a new Spriggans trap card, and we get a new generic, really dope artwork card that we'll get into at the end. So let's get started off here with Black Clad Dragon Albion. Very cool design. I like the way he looks. Not your typical dragon. He's a level 8 dark dragon effect monster, 2500 attack, 2000 defense. So that classic Neos kind of like stat line. You can only use this second effect once per turn. The first effect reads that this card is always treated as Fallen of Albaz while on the field or in the graveyard. I'm sure that just comes up with specific, card rulings or whatever. You send him for fusion, you send him for whatever, and then he counts as Albaz to make certain cards live or whatever. So cool, more copies of Albaz. Second effect, if this card is in the hand or graveyard, you can send 1 Fallen of Albaz or Stigmatica spell or trap from your deck to the hand, from your hand or deck to the graveyard, then apply the following effect depending on where that card was sent from. So the effect changes depending on where the card you're sending is coming from. If it's coming from the hand, you can special summon this card. I don't know how good that is, because like you're essentially just trading, a card in hand to get this card on field. Meh. I mean, like, and this effect really only seems worth if you're summoning him from grave, because otherwise you're literally just like sending a card for free just to get this guy on field. He doesn't even do anything on field except count as Albaz. Okay. The last, his second part is if you're sending a card from the decks, if you're sending either Albaz or a Stigmatic spell or trap from the deck, he can place himself on the bottom of the deck. And then if he was placed from the hand, you draw 1 card. So if you're placing him from grave, you don't draw at all. If you're placing him from hand, you just like replace it. Like you just draw a card. I don't know. I think that's fine. I don't know. Like, well, I don't really see why you would ever be doing this like without the draw. Like, what is the point of even like shuffling him back? He's not really a card. I don't know. I don't know, man. This card's kind of a little bit of a letdown for me. I was hoping he'd be better. These could have just been like slightly different and it would have been better. Like if he was just a little bit easier. If he just said like Foolish Burial, Albaz, or Stigmatica spell or trap to then just special himself from hand or grave, we're in there. But he has to summon from hand, which means he can't even reborn himself once he's in grave. He can only, or he can, but you have to be sending a Fallen of Albaz or Stigmatica spell trap from the hand. So you're not even like, it's still like a 1-for-1, even if you're summoning from grave. If you're summoning from hand, it's just like a -1. I don't love it. I don't love it, to be honest. Unless there's like specific reasons why like that's insane. I know some of the Stigmatica spells and traps might have effects in grave. I think some of them do. I'm not sure if they're good enough though to warrant like him going minus to get him there. All right, but moving on, we have Bond of Stigmatica. This is a normal spell for that. You can only use its effect, each effect once per turn. The first effect says special summon 1 Fallen of Albaz from your hand, graveyard, or among your banish cards. Strange, but okay. So it's kind of just like a pull Albaz back out kind of situation, which is fine. Albaz is a pretty decent card. He just doesn't summon himself. So the more cards that summon him is better. Obviously, I'd be a little more interested if this card allowed you to just special summon Albaz out of the deck, but it's everything but, essentially. So I think it's okay. Like, I think it's totally fine, but at least the Stigmatica archetype seems to be much more based around, like, Albaz, so I think you actually might be playing him. And I guess technically if this guy's in grave, you can summon him from grave too, which is whatever. Second effect, you can activate during the end phase of a turn in which this card was sent to the graveyard to activate the effect of Fallen of Albaz. Set this card to your side of the field. Okay, so this is like, so I guess the one saving grace is like that this card, oh, isn't that the normal thing that most of the Stigmatica spells and traps do? They say like if they're sent for Albaz. So if this guy counts as Albaz in grave, he could send this from hand to reborn himself, and it would technically count as Albaz activating effect, so then this gets set back to the field. So he is just summoning himself for free. Okay, so I guess if all the spells and traps work that way and they would just set themselves back immediately, then this is just kind of a free extender, but he has to be from grave. You don't really care as much about summoning from hand, because he doesn't count as Albaz in the hand, so I don't think it would trigger them to come back to the field. So interesting little thing. It makes him a little bit more like swallowable. But this card's okay, I think. Like, it just really depends how fallen of Albaz, like centric, the deck ends up being. Will really determine whether this card will be worth. But all right. So that is it for the Stigmatica cards. Next up, we have our Spriggans trap. This card is called Spingans Interluder. It's a continuous trap. You can use each effect of this card's name once per turn. Its effect reads, you can activate when your opponent activates a card effect. Any card effect, spell, trap, or monster. Okay. Return one Spriggans monster you control to its owner's deck. Then apply one of the following effects. Okay, so that's not cost, by the way, which is really, really nice. Especially with like continuous cards. You could, if this was cost, you would have like returned a Spriggans card. Then you could have gotten like even Cosmic Cycloned, Twin Twistered, any kind of like dried it, and this card would not resolve, and you would have just shuffled your card back, lost this card for nothing. So cool. I like that it's not cost. Okay, then so after you shuffle, you apply one of these effects. You can either negate that effect, wow, just negate it, or you can special summon a level 8 monster from your graveyard. Any level 8 monster. Wow, okay. Not even a level 8 like Springans. So it's either like Captain Sargus, I think, what is it? Banger? Is Banger the I can't remember, or Brongo? I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head right now. But that's really cool. Get any level 8 pack. That's really good because of Captain Sargus, because if you had just made X-Blower or the rank 4 and you just had like you could just get Captain Sargus in grave, this card could reborn him on your opponent's turn, and then Captain Sargus just attaches an Exceed material to pop a card. So now you've got an extra Drynant on top of your board. That's really cool. I like, that's pretty great. Okay, also, if a face-up Exceed monster you control leaves the field due to an effect, you can make all monsters your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack until the end of the turn. Cool. I mean, I'm with that. Is that this is like a trigger effect, so it's only the monsters currently on the field, or is it like once you activate it, it's like continuous? You make all monsters your opponent controls lose to the end. So I think it's a trigger effect, not a continuous or a lingering effect, so that any new monster isn't lowered by 1,000. But that's kind of cool because you have something like X-Blower, which like quick effect tags out. It's not disruption though. It's kind of just like redoer. So it's really good at like just dodging your opponent's stuff, but who's to say he won't just dodge fairly often and then your opponent's just able to be like, oh cool, he's out of the way, I'm just gonna kill you now. Kill you because you left your board wide open. So at least having this would give you the potential to lower a lot of your opponent's stats, and then they might not be able to OTK anymore. But obviously there could be situations where you lower them, they link all that stuff off into a Boral Sword or an access code and still kill you. But I think this card is great. I think it's either a negate, and this is a continuous, by the way, and this is what these are the kind of cards I love. It's continuous. You literally could just negate something every turn as long as you have a Spriggans monster. It doesn't require you to have a Spriggans Exceed. You could even just normal summon a Spriggans, and that makes this card alive to negate something. Not half bad. I think this card's awesome. It's an engine card, gets you stuff back from grave to help continue to grind with your board. It gets you negates every turn, lowers your opponent's stuff so you can either kill them or keep them from killing you. I think this card's a great addition to the Spriggans lineup. And then we get to the last card. This card's actually generic. It's called Swordmaster of the Bewitching Iris. Very cool name, very cool design. Almost doesn't even look fully Yu-Gi-Oh! You know what I'm saying? Like, this artwork almost looks like from a different game, but it looks dope. So here we go. This is a spellcaster effect, light, level 8, 25, 25. What am I looking at fleur-de-lis right now? What the hell's going on? You can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn each. Oh, like that's what Yu-Gi-Oh organization thought too. Fleur-de-lis, is that you? All right. Okay, so both effects are hard once per turn. The first effect reads, during the main phase, if a monster whose effects are negated is on the field, quick effect, you can special summon this card from the hand. Okay, so quick effect summons itself as long as there is any monster whose effects are negated on the field. Okay, interesting. Second effect, if your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can activate one of these effects based on where they summoned from. Okay, so depending on where they summoned from, if they summoned from the hand, you can special summon one monster from your hand. Okay, I mean, I guess it needs to be kind of specific, but there are some specific cards that are kind of cool to pull out of the hand like that. If they are summoning from the deck, you can draw 2 cards. Hey, you know what? We've got stuff like Eldritch. If they activate Scarlet Sanguine, right? Like you're going to draw 2 cards. Anything that plays Halki Fibrax, you're going to draw 2 cards. Infernoble's going into Ice Soul, you're going to draw 2 cards. That's not bad. A lot of decks summon from the deck. That's pretty cool. Draw 2 cards. Hell yeah. Obviously, drawing 2 is pretty good. And the last one, if they summon from the extra deck, you can destroy one of those monsters special summon from the extra deck. So you're not able to actually negate the summon of the extra deck monster, but you can just pop one of them when they're summoned, which is it's a decent disruption, right? Like, it's not amazing. This isn't stopping any deck by itself, probably. At least a good one. But paired with a hand trap or whatever, not too crazy, not too terrible. The other thing to keep in mind is even going second on your opponent's turn 1, if you were to try and pair this card, specifically try to pair this card with stuff like Ghost Mourner, Moonlit Chill, Infinite Impermanence, Effect Veiler. Those are all 3 cards that negate stuff going second. So you could potentially even negate something on your opponent's field. This card's a quick effect to summon, and now if your opponent wants to try to summon from the extra deck again, you're going to pop a monster. If they want to go into the deck or summon out of the deck, you're going to draw 2 cards. I think this card's not terrible if you pair it with the right stuff. I think this card's really interesting. Now, do I think it's amazing? No, I think it's like fairly easy to play around for the most part. I guess there are going to be some strategies that can't, but this is the biggest thing right here, is it's not getting on the field unless you can pair it with a way to negate something. So I guess you'd want to be playing this in an archetype that already has inherent ways of just like negating a card on field. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what would like make the most sense with that. I mean, I think of like Code Talkers just because they have like Code Radiator and it's super searchable and it like just negates something on field, but you don't really want to summon anything not Cybers in that deck. So maybe that's not the best example. Fleur-de-lis herself, we kind of made a joke about Fleur-de-lis at the beginning. You know, you could Fleur-de-lis something and that would open up the path to summon this out of the hand as well. You get a ton of damage on board and you'd have a negate plus a pop. Not the worst. I think this card's really interesting. I can't wait to see if there are any specific strategies that this card like can really come up in, because I think it could be really cool. I just can't do it all the way by itself. It needs to be able to negate something. But also keep in mind, there are some decks out there that negate their own stuff, like Burning Abyss, right? Burning Abyss is actually fairly popular right now. If they go Tour Guide into a BA that's negated on field, you could actually just summon this card. Right then and there. So there are actually other pathways to still get there. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I think it's cool. So that's going to do it for me here today, guys. 4 more cards down. I think they're pretty cool. I'm not in love with the Stigmatica cards, the new ones, but I am in love with the Spriggans card. And I think she is very, very cool. There. So just a little bit of extra nice stuff to add on to Dawn of Majesty. We'll see how the last cards go. I do think that they kind of revealed the filler stuff earlier in the set. So hopefully we're going to round out the set with some cool support cards. Maybe even some other cool new cards. I mean, she's a cool new card, right? Like, I'm not upset about that. But the cool fairy monster we looked at yesterday was really cool. Hopefully they keep it up. Hopefully the set rounds out with a couple more nice cards. But yeah, just adding to the pile of cards I'm definitely going to be picking up from here. So very, very cool. Let me know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts on these 4 new cards? And here we go. We got like 10 more cards to go over the next, 3-4 days, most likely. So I will bring you those when they drop. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe if you haven't. Yada, yada. Get the hell out of here. I love you, people. Bye.